Hello, I'm Hamp Overton with my colleague Paul Catalanato. This is 100 Scariest, where we're looking for the scariest shorts streaming online. In this episode, we're talking about the 2024 film called Don't Look Back by Mitsumatsu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Yuasa. It stars Masatoshi Aikida and Keiya Hikita. The YouTube log line for this film is when you go out alone at night, don't look back and go straight home. Okay, Paul, what did you think of this film here?
I really dug it. It's very simple. I don't think the characters say anything in the entire movie. It's one of those things. I'm a sucker for these kind of short films. Where it seems like something that could happen to you. Like, you get off work, you go, and then you look at somebody you shouldn't look. Who doesn't rubberneck? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's basically what the whole thing is like he rubbernecks. He's curious. Something weird's happening. So he looks back. I'll be honest, I'd probably be looking as I went past. The monster would definitely get me. It wouldn't even it might would have been too I've been too easy. But it felt like something that just could happen, and I think like that is the nature of what makes it scary. All the people who watch this, all the people who enjoy this short have probably walked to school, saw something they shouldn't have seen, looked. I mean, I guess this is like a visual metaphor of just seeing something disturbing and it's sticking with you.
Do you think it was that he should have intervened when the woman was banging her head, and because he didn't, he then became a target? Did he do the wrong thing, or was he just chosen and now it's his lot to deal with?
I don't know. I think it's more if I had to guess, it's that he should mind his own business.
Not even look at her. Just
Not
keep
even
on
looking
going.
at it. Yeah, I think that to me that's what I got from it. And
Because he opens the door to it, right?
yeah,
Essentially
you open
by
the door.
there's
And
the threshold.
you've asked me before, do like about certain movies that we watch, like horror movies in their like infancy. We're talking about old scary stories. Are they teaching you something, or are they warning you about something? And I think this movie sticks right into that genre of or that trail of thought there, and that this is a story. It was like, look, when you're going home, get home. Don't waste time. Don't meander. Don't keep your eyes on on what you're supposed to do. Get home to
That's
bed.
that's the lesson learned here. Okay. And
Yeah,
also he misses his train, right? So there's a
exactly.
lesson there also. You should have been on time. And none of this would have happened if he caught his train. It's one of those types of things. Yeah.
And we both know that this is a Japanese movie, which is our first Japanese movie that you and I have discussed.
It is. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about Japanese and Japanese horror. And it's of interest. It's very, very interesting, the history behind Japanese horror.
I I could listen. If you're going to talk about The Ring, I'm all about talking about The Ring.
Yeah, there's a lot of big ones from Japan. We have The Ring, and they're all moral stories, is what they are. There's a difference between a Japanese horror story and an American horror story. Whereas in Japan, you have something that is a tradition that comes from kabuki theater, and kabuki theater has a lot of ghost stories in it. And so when you look at some of these stories from Japan, often it can be male or female, but it's often female. And it's this thing that a ghost is called I'm going to mispronounce this also, Anryu, which is it's a vengeful spirit. Okay. And this story isn't quite long enough for us to understand why this spirit may have come about. But I think it is in the Japanese tradition because if you remember at the very end of it, when we see her, do you recall what her teeth look like?
Yes, they were black and deformed, weren't they?
Yeah, and in aristocracy back in the day, all the way up to about the mid 1800s, blackened teeth were used in aristocracy, and it was also used in kabuki theater. Women used it, and sometimes married women would use it to distinguish themselves from someone that was single. Just as you have a dot on the forehead with Indian women, this was another way of identifying someone, whether they're married or not. And so it has a long history in Japanese lore, and it fell out of favor in the 1800s when Japan was trying to rapidly modernized to match and catch up with Western society. They were introduced to Western ways and things like that, and so they tried to suppress some of their the more historical ways of doing things. but it was kept in Kabuki theater. And if you remember, and her teeth are all black, that kind of stuff. That was a very common thing to continue to use in Kabuki theater. And then another thing that's interesting about horror films is that after Japan lost the war in World War II, a big theme in Japanese movies were the samurai movies. Okay, samurais were really big and popular in stories, folklore, that kind of stuff. And the American occupation of Japan suppressed that. They said no more, no more of these samurai films because they did not, they want to try and turn Japan from being more militaristic to being, more democratic. And in the process, to make up the shortfall of Japanese films, they leaned heavily into things like your Godzilla films, which were futuristic in that regard, and also in your ghost stories too. So there has a a big renaissance of ghost stories in Japanese theater, and so we see that quite a bit. And then, of course, as it becomes further and further into more contemporary times, we see that American movies copy it or steal these. I won't say steal, borrow these ideas. Not just from Japan, but from other Asian countries too. They'll do American remakes of them. And in the movie you mentioned, The Ring is something that's very similar. Right? And usually, when you have someone who is uh, a ghost in Japan, they're trying to. Japan has it goes along with Confucianism and things like that, where it has a yin and a yang, and so you have a dark and a light, or a good and an evil, and the evil is not usually in Western movies. Good is trying to defeat evil, but in more Asian films, especially with the yin and the yang, where you have your black and your white symbolisms, they're balanced and the balance has to be maintained. So it's not so much about good defeating evil as in restoring balance. And when you have a ghost like this, it means that something is out of balance and it haunts the person. If you look at some of the earlier movies that not just The Ring, but some of the other ones. The Dark Water is all about that, where a woman's child drowns, and it's because of her neglect that the child's ghost comes back to haunt her to try and balance the imbalance of just the system of yin and yang going on there with what's going on here. It's not always that way. Sometimes the rebalance can be that people will pray to the ghost, the demon. The what we call a Yuri is a type of spirit, the Henri. Uh, I'm mispronouncing it again, Onryu. And so they will sometimes actually, this person, which comes off as a bad spirit, actually becomes a good spirit because by praying to the spirit to be kind, by giving sacrifices or bringing things like food and things like that to it, building a temple in their name. It helps balance it also. So there's a long history as to how these spirits behave and how they react. And so this short film, although it's only short, it does incorporate a lot of that sort of thing. So it makes me wonder that what did this man do that brought about this spirit in this whole story here? And it'd be fascinating to talk to the filmmaker and get his take on it as to where he came from. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and maybe you. One of the things that did catch my attention is he's dressed in white, and I know that he's in like a business attire, but she's in red, and there was a big contrast to me, like visually, with him dressed in white and she's dressed in red.
Yeah, red is surprising because red in Asian culture usually represents wealth. And so, especially in Chinese culture, um, if you watch the movie, other than an anemic sort of yellowy green, that's really the only color that pops in the whole movie. And it certainly, so I'm not sure if it was chosen for cultural reasons or chosen for aesthetic purposes.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because if she's in red, and then you mentioned the aristocracy of where with the black teeth, then it almost, now watching the film, it makes me feel like she's the spirit of a rich woman or a rich wife.
That's a good
Y-
point. Hmm.
so it makes me think that that might be where that was borrowed from, which adds a layer to this film. It makes me want to rewatch the movie again, just hearing you say that, and with that new bit of knowledge, and see what I pick up, or if I pick up anything, you
Yeah,
know?
if she's a spirit coming back to balance something, what did he do? Where did he do it?
Well, my thought now is like this is a woman who would have been married, but she's without a husband. This is a guy here who is obviously single and by themselves. So, like when you're talking about balance, that in itself creates imbalance. This is a married woman without her husband. This is a single man without a mate.
It,
So I don't know. It's just with that bit of knowledge now, I'm kind of, is that there? Is that in this movie?
I don't know. It's a good question.
You know, just taking the movie from another point of view, this movie to me looks like it was shot with a cell phone. Not saying that is a bad thing. It was that or a DSLR. And I judge that basically on just on some of the colors that I've seen in the movie. And I apologize to the filmmaker if they ever see this and they didn't, but there's something very cell phone video. But and I say that with love because I think it works for this. It makes it seem so current and now with the way it's shot. Because like some of the lights, the way they're blown out, the green tunnel, he's using natural lights, and it looks like he did some color correction on it. The night, even at nighttime, it looks like a dim room and it's lit by a cell phone. Maybe there's a blue light to add some ambiance, but it looks like he's using just a lot of the natural lighting. And if you're shooting with a cell phone, that would make a lot of sense.
I could see that. I think it's a little too tack sharp. It is 2024, so I don't think he's using a DSLR. Um, but it may be, it may be. It looks pretty sharp though for a cell phone. It's a very good cell phone if he's using a
Yeah,
cell phone.
I'm gonna tell you, man, when it's really lit well, I can really get some good images. I mean, I don't want to think it's a red. I mean, it's not something as sophisticated as that, I don't think.
I think the only thing that might make me say no is the shallow depth of field, which is more challenging to get with a cell phone. I know it's easier to do, but a lot of cell phones fake it, when they do shallow depth of field. This does not look like it's fake shallow depth of field. It looks like it's actual shallow depth of field, which can really only be achieved with a larger sensor and a little bit longer lens, which you would have if you used, a digital camera.
Yeah, and and now I'm saying that. I mean, I watched this on my cell phone, and now I'm looking at it on my computer.
Watch
Well, I
it on
did.
it.
I watched it on my phone with my headphones. That's how I watched it the first time.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I know that seems trivial, but I like doing that sometimes with these movies because that's the way it was intended. You
You
should,
think?
yes, I definitely think this was intended to be seen on your cell phone because
It is on
it's on
YouTube, yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm looking at the details in the whites. There's no way he could have got the details in his white shirt with a cell phone.
Yeah, I think he used a little bit more advanced camera than that.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where it is. And because like what's throwing me off is because like I look at the before the tunnel, and this is very cinematic, very nice. It looks like something that's kind of like a Sony, like a higher end Sony. But then when I look in his apartment is what feels like cell phone video to me.
It's really dark in his apartment, so that might be the issue. He just doesn't have enough light in there. But
Yeah.
anyway, without getting into the weeds too much and going,
But
going
no, I
over
bring
his
all this
stuff.
up. I bring all this up because, like, if you read about the guy, because one of the things, the other reason I like looking at these things on my phone is because it's easier to get all the social media afterwards. It's a little harder through my desktop to get to his Twitter, to get to his Instagram through a
Gotcha.
desktop. Like, it's
Hmm.
just readily available through my phone. And, like, I get the sense that this is not somebody who's a filmmaker first, which is different for our movies.
Right.
He's an engineer, it looks like by
Hmm.
trade. So
It's interesting.
this looks like somebody who's I'm an engineer, but I want to make movies, for fun.
Right.
Which
Hmm.
I mean, which is saying a lot about the medium, right? When I first got into this, and God knows when you got into this even before me, you did not make movies. There was a considerable investment. You were putting 25, $30,000 to do this. You bought an editing machine, you bought a nice camera, you bought lights,
Oh,
you
you
bought
rented all
sound.
this stuff. Yeah. Hmm.
You were making it if you're going to do this professionally because you
Oh, yeah.
you weren't going
Hmm.
to rent every time because you were going to go do weddings, you were going
I
to do
follow you. Gotcha.
commercials, you
Yeah.
were going to
Hmm.
make this money back so you could sustain yourself and continue your art.
Sure. Sure.
when I was coming up, one of the things people would tell you to do is like, hey, write a short story with no intention of doing anything with it. Just write a short story for your own benefit. We've gotten to the point now where if I want to just make a movie just to have fun with it, I can make a movie and have fun with it. And he
Hmm.
was definitely rewarded. I mean, 4 million views, but
Right.
I
Yeah, that's
think it was a good
interesting.
point.
Yeah, when I started, I spent $25,000 just on the camera, uh, and that was used.
Yeah, those old
So-
beta cameras.
but once I had the camera, I got hired to shoot stuff for network television and things of that nature. And so I had the client base already because I had been freelancing without a camera. Um, yeah, it was today. It's a lot easier, and now with AI, you don't even need a camera. So,
Well, you
so
think about it. So you can with your cell phone. Look,
that's
news
true. It
is
does.
taped from cell phone now. I've
I was.
seen reporters just put themselves on the news and then edit on your laptop. You can get started now with a
Mm-hmm.
laptop you
Mm-hmm.
already own in your phone you probably already own. Buy a little
Yep.
light kit and for less than $200-300, make something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen network programs on, well, not network, things like on Comedy Central where they interview someone and they're on their cell phone. And this is destined for, Comedy Central for it. And it wasn't they interviewed someone on the street. They called comedians and they would be I think we're getting um it's normalized because when you watch podcasts that are also videotaped. They're often videotaped with cell phones or with a webcam, that type of thing. And so it's standardized now to see that quality. Now, think about what we were doing.
No, I was about to say
We're
this.
we're
You say this with no sense of irony. Like I can't
Hey,
help
wait a
but
minute.
think it. It's like we're literally doing what you're just talking about. Like it's not.
Well, what's interesting though is that you and I are doing it, but we're professors at a film program. I'm talking about Hollywood people
Yeah,
who you would think would have access to legitimate equipment and stuff like that. We're staying within the realm of the internet. We're staying on YouTube. Whereas this type of work I've seen has been destined for broadcast television. And it's like,
absolutely.
wait a minute, broadcast is now shooting on cell phones or webcams, that type of thing. So it's all over. Again, 30 years ago when I first started doing video, you would never, you couldn't shoot on a video camera and you didn't shoot on high 8 cameras. Your standard was Beta SP. That was like the bottom of the rung you could get for network television. And so,
COVID changed that. COVID
and then
changed that.
also,
That's what
yeah,
it changed.
and then when you would shoot something, a guy like me would come in and light it all and set up a camera and choose the angle and choose the lens and that type of thing and mic you up. And now it's someone's at their desktop, even for like I said, broadcast stuff. It's just very interesting how it's changed quite a bit.
That's one of those things. It's like it's gotten to the point where, like, when students ask about like jobs and stuff for getting into this, that's now the nature of you have to be able to be creative in this business now, and that's like your number one asset because they're now choosing between something creative or can I just set up my Zoom and do it that way.
Sure. Sure.
I
Hmm.
have friends who just shot like some video and they did it for their business. Didn't even call me. He shot himself and then he put his face on like an AI body. And I was like, that's not you. And like and it's even in like and he must have like cloned his voice so it like did the AI narration. And
Wow.
like I mean that's what we're competing with.
Wow.
But that's what we're competing with, right? It's very interesting where what we do, like that part of what we do, is going to go. Because you almost have to create your own content. It's going to force you to create your own content and see who watches and buys and make your income that way.
Yeah, as we mentioned before we start this program, a lot of YouTubers are no longer just doing voiceover. They're putting themselves on camera so that they can verify that they exist and this program is actually real. It's not AI generated. But even that's getting hard to do. I was sent a video by YouTube about some guy talking about, what was he talking about? I forgot. And half the screen or a third of the screen was this guy narrating it, and then the other two-thirds was the YouTube video. And after watching it for about a minute, I said, something's off with this guy because he kept
Yeah.
doing the same maneuvers and stuff like this. And I realized, oh, he's AI generated. And so he was very good AI generated. And no one in the comments was talking about it, but it was clearly clear that he was an AI generated person. And it's just content to make content.
Hmm.
It's not geared towards anything specific, as in communicating information or a point of view or something like that. It was just content to create content to get people to watch it so that you can earn money. And anyone can do this as long as you type it
Absolutely.
up in your language. You have Google translate it for you. And then you have Google read it for you, and then you have AI generate the image, and then you either steal the footage or you generate your own footage online. So it's a different world, completely different world. So
It's vastly changing too in the and and it's a lot we're taking from just this movie, this 6-minute movie. It's
yeah, we've we've
Well, no,
kind
we
of
get into
let the
weeds, but it's like it's interesting because of what it represents, Like
yeah.
we're seeing this change here, and this is one of these movies. I think that's part of what makes it so great. Like, you can do this. This is somebody with just some gumption. I had an idea. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
go make this movie with my friends,
Right.
and they made a
Right.
movie, and it was very successful. 4 million views. That's successful.
Very successful. Right. Yeah.
But that's what separates us. And my point is he's an engineer. Like you and I did this stuff for a living
You're
before we
absolutely
got an
right.
education.
So even a
I,
hobbyist can now do this kind of stuff.
and
This is
it
what
makes
you're
me
saying.
wonder, well, where are the people who want to get into video? Where is their place going to be in the next few years?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
and that's why I've went into the weeds with this. Well, where are they going to go to work? Well, who are because there are going to still be people who are going to go buy cinema level cameras. They're going to spend
Hmm.
their 15,000. They're going to buy a workstation. Who are they getting hired by?
Yeah.
And I do think there are people who are still going to hire them because there's always going to be a business that needs to look nice for YouTube, social media,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but like little simple things, it is getting to the point like you can hire a marketing like somebody to be in marketing and they could do some of this stuff with their cell phone. It's interesting.
Yeah. If you I think the difference between doing it with your cell phone and having AI do it is that AI will probably do it better.
Mm.
AI is not gonna be out of focus. AI is not gonna, change the light balance of it. It's not gonna be shaky handheld, all that kind of stuff. So AI will be much more because I used to when in my career at some point, some of my clients, like you said, would want to do something cheaper and they would have their marketing person go out there with a digital camera that they just bought and it was awful. The lighting was terrible, the audio was terrible. Like the cap on the camera would dangle and sometimes get into the lens on some of these, and they didn't know where to put the camera, all that kind of stuff. AI knows how to do all that stuff. It knows where to put the camera. It knows how to light. It knows how to keep things in focus. It knows how to stabilize. All these professional things it can easily do. Now, can it tell a decent story or communicate the information correctly? Maybe, maybe not.
But that still needs a human and
Yeah.
probably for the foreseeable future. But the thing is, we're also seeing where when it's AI, it doesn't look it passes that what we've talked about in other ones, the uncanny valley.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even when it looks right, it just doesn't like real life.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because it's just something imperfect about real life. And I think one of the things we are discovering, because you also see in YouTube push back. They don't want this stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
They don't even
Good luck. Good
yeah.
luck for them. Hmm.
But people who are watching this stuff have it seems like a verdict has been reached that people don't want it as
Hmm.
much. They do want to see what a human can do.
Well,
Um
it's like cheating. When I see something that's AI generated, I look at it and go, it's not just the visuals that are AI generated, it's the content itself. A
yeah.
human was not behind it. And to me, you need that human element to have it have true impact. Um, AI can't do that. And and it's this cheat code they've come up with to use AI, and it's impersonal, it's unrealistic, it's just not real. I don't know. Maybe people don't care. But anyway, that's kind
I
of how
mean,
I
I
feel
think
about
there's some people who don't, but there is something cold about it. And I'm bringing that up not to talk about how good it looks, but to say you were talking just about how when they would bring it out and it would look so fake, right? Or it would look awful because they didn't know where to put the
it.
camera.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right, AI does, but it's to the too extreme. It's
It
so
it
to
does. And what's funny, if you look like a movie like Cloverfield or something like that, they use all those tropes that make it look amateurish to
hmm
help make it look real. And that was a trend for a while, if you remember, Blair Witch and all that kind of stuff. We've discussed
exactly.
before. You put those imperfections in that an amateur filmmaker would do in order to make it seem more realistic. Okay. And
I
now
think
those are gone, and it's all AI that's getting rid of it.
Yeah, and I think that's why there's such a appreciation for analog medium now. I think because I think we've gotten the ability to where we can lie with a photograph, lie with video, where we can make something that's just not true. Whereas when you talk about analog, it was a lot harder to do that. The
Yeah.
illusion, if there was a ghost in that video, it was real, you
Hmm.
know, it felt real, but now it's like if you see a ghost in this, it's like, well, is this something that somebody created or is this something a computer created? It's
I don't
interesting.
know. I don't know what we're gonna do here, Paul.
I know, but just looking at this, don't look back. Great short, just to emphasize it's well acted. Everyone does what they're supposed to do. The camera's in the right spot.
Hmm.
The green, the orange tones, all that stuff really worked for me. We get normal skin tones where when we need it. I even like the twist at the end where he ends up back where
Yeah, that
he,
was that was interesting. He can't get away. It reminded me of that movie Triangle on the ship. Remember that horror
yeah.
film? Something like that, or in Cube. Yes, you just keep on going back. You can't get away from it. So this is a trope that's used in horror films, which is fun. And when the bedroom door opens and he crosses that threshold, I thought that was sort of an interesting idea, because when he does that, he is now basically doomed to go back into the tunnel with the creature.
Well, I think that's part of what I was saying. Like what I felt the movie was like when you see something horrible, like a horrible accident,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it haunts you and it never really leaves you. None of the things we see leave us. You watch a movie, that movie stays with you to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even bad ones are forgettable movies. You might
Hmm.
forget them, but they kind of start in all the complexities of a human being. It adds to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie is saying. You look at something you shouldn't have looked at and it stays with you and it haunts you.
Hmm. Yeah, good. Good interpretation. Yeah. What do you think about the music and sound effects were pretty strong in this film.
Yeah,
It
probably the
really
strongest aspect of it, to be honest.
it pushed a lot of the narrative. Right. It did not allow you to forget what was going on, which is a different approach. Some of the things like Mama Agnes, I don't think it had any music in it. And it's fun to see the different ways that you can communicate fear and horror with and also without music.
What I love, it reminds me of the short that you and I shot, Knock Knock, and
Hmm.
the red dress and how that red dress really pops.
Yep.
We were talking about the green, that a lot of it's green. It makes sense that a lot of it would be green. Green would make the red pop.
You're right. Often green is combined with red. They're what we call complementary colors on the
Yeah.
color wheel. Um, but when in his house though, it's sort of blue, if I'm not mistaken.
It gets
I-
orange when he first. It's like very yellow when he first gets in, and then it gets very blue at nighttime.
yeah, at nighttime it becomes very blue in his apartment. But back in the tunnel, it's that green mercury vapor sort of look, over the fluorescent sort of greeny fluorescent look to it.
And one of the things I think you and I, like we've talked about before, adding to this show is can our students make this movie?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
watched movies where this is outside the realm of an undergraduate, outside the realm of a graduate student. This movie here is, I mean, I would say one of the most anyone can do movies that we've seen.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was one of the appeals of this movie and why I want to show it. And that was one of the, I think, one of the goals of of our channel here is to show films that you could make, and it's just your own creativity that is what's going to get you there. It's not lack of equipment. It's not lack of editing stuff. It's not locations. All these locations are easy to get. It's at night, that type of thing. It's someone guy's apartment. It's nothing fancy. It's not big stars. It's all of that is not there. It's just the creativity that separates this movie from a movie that it isn't as good.
Yeah, and like, and that's what's really great about YouTube in general, right? We
Hmm.
watch movies like The Back Rooms and The Chair, which are
Right.
movies that are on a high level, right? Because
A
even
higher level, right.
yeah,
Hmm.
and this one is batting with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
So
And we've touched on movies of this sort of level also in some of the other films we've looked at, which has been fun to do, to see what people can do with minimal amount of stuff, minimal budgets, minimal gear.
and that's great. That's great. Like just the right thumbnail, the right idea, right, just spooky idea that just goes the next level.
Hmm.
Great, this is great. I enjoyed this. I love shorts like this. This is, like I said, my favorite. One of my when it comes to shorts, this is my favorite genre that could happen. Because like I could imagine this guy. This tunnel is probably right outside his house. He probably walks it every day.
Yeah, and one last thing is that this one ended like a couple of our other ones where think about Peephole,
Yes.
where the creature comes at the end and they cut. It's one way to end in a horror film, and I'm glad that we've chosen other movies that have not always followed that pattern. Usually, a lot of shorts, so they do follow that pattern. So this is just one way of doing it. And I thought it was interesting to go back to that, which we'd experienced before. But it's also fun to show other films that don't do that, that have a different sort of ending to them.
Don't Peek did that, where she gets sucked up by the monster under because it comes from under the covers.
That's true. Don't peek to the same one. The one where the woman is by herself with her cross. What was that one called?
Oh,
Uh,
Portrait of
yeah,
God.
Portrait of God. That didn't do it, and it was
Yeah.
still frightening. And so there's more than one way to. And the very first one we made, Lights Out, same thing right there.
It's interesting. So like there's no there's more than one way to make a scary short. But this is
Absolutely.
definitely a very popular way, and I think that's like them to your audience, right? Like kids who watch this, they like that last jump.
It is something that you see, and we've talked about this before with shorts that you can get away with it because in a short, the hero often dies, Where,
Exactly.
whereas in a feature, the hero usually survives. And so you have several jumps through it, and this saves the big jump for the ending when the hero dies.
Better to be a character in a feature than a short most
There you
times.
go. There you go.
So
Hmm.
three comments. Couldn't sleep at 3:50 a.m. and search for horror short and got this. What a gem. Pedestrian tunnels are always scary. Creepy. And Japan is known for being the best country when it comes to making horror films. Love this film. Yeah, I guess so. So, what are we talking about next time, Hamp?
Next time, we're making a very surprising film, which is only 1 minute long, and it's called Tuck Me In by Ignacio Rodo.
Interesting. A 1 minute short.
1 minute short horror
And it
film.
manages to be scary with 1 minute, huh?
It is very scary. Yes. Mhm.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. All right. Well, that's it for Don't Look Back. This is Paul. This is Hamp. This is 100 Scariest. And like, subscribe, and share. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.